TechNet Saturday at 7 p.m. W5FC.
We'll be starting Skynet in about 2 minutes, so if anybody needs to use the repeater quickly, please do so now. This is N5BB, November 5 Bravo Bravo. I will be Skynet Net Control.
This is the W5FC repeater, PL110.9.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anyone need to use the repeater? Before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet. This is N5BB. This is Bill, November 5 Bravo Bravo, N5BB. I'll be your net control for this session of the Dallas Amateur Radio Club Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy and space. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic. We encourage your participation, comments, and your suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time using a # break and your call sign. Is there any emergency traffic or party traffic at this time? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without directions from your net control, November 5 Bravo Bravo. And stations are reminded to identify at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using a W5FC-R. Station ID or Echolink node 37247. And I am logging into Echolink now, so I will be able to see you. If you need to make a comment over there, put it in the text. And if there isn't too much chatter in the text, I'll be able to see it. Tonight's topics: astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right after the net or actually right now for the complete list. You can do this right now. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur radio operators are welcome. You do not need to be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long, structured in several parts. General announcements: Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, National Space Society. Discussion topic of the evening by Net Control. What's up? What you can see in the sky. Space exploration and space history. Constellation of the week. Space launches of the week. Recent astronomical discoveries. And if we have time, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. Astronomical questions and answers, and the 73 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. Let's start with low power and short time check-ins. Do we have any short time check-ins? So please come now with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from. This is N5BB, Skynet.
Whiskey 5, bacon, lettuce, tomato, Bill, Scarlet.
Kilo India 5, Gulf Hotel. Melissa, Church City.
Foxtrot, Romeo, Jacob, Farmers Branch, low power, short time.
We had some doubles. Let's stop it here. I recognize W5BLT. Hello, Bill. KF5GRH. Hello, Melissa. I'm assuming you're short time. The station, Jacob in Farmers Branch, please give your full call sign again. Sorry.
Sure thing, not a problem. Thanks for being net control. The call is Kilo Golf 5, Uniform Fox Romeo, KG5, UFR, Jacob, Farmers Branch.
Got it this time, Jacob, KG5 UFR. You had double with Melissa. Do we have any other short time check-ins? If so, please come now.
November 8, Whiskey Romeo, N8 WWR Romeo, Grapevine, short time. Thanks for running that.
And I recognize Romy, N8 WWR. Last call, do we have any other short time check-ins to Skynet? This is N5BB. Nothing heard. Now let's look for general RF check-ins. We'll do Echolink later. So do we have any RF check-ins? Anybody that hasn't checked in so far via RF, please come now with your call sign and your name and your location. This is N5BB, Skynet.
Kilo India 5, Uniform, Juliet, Dustin, in Dallas.
November, Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom, Louisville.
Kilo Bravo 5, Delta Mike Charlie, Brian in Roanoke.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda in DeSoto.
This is Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson.
This is
5 Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz. I'm not in Surf City. It's too dangerous. I'm in Mesquite.
This is Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike, Rich in Rockwall,
AG5 PM.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey J, 11.
Okay. I recognize KI5UUJ. Hello, Justin. NT5TM. Hi, Tony. KE5ICX. Hello, Tom. KB5DMC. Hi, Brian. KF5ZBL. Mr. Bill. WB5OZL. Hi, Brenda. AE5AH. Robert. NV5F. Howdy, Virginia. KF5JHA. Our comedian Chaz. AG5PM. Rich. And KG5BZW. J down in the southwest part of the Metroplex. Okay. Do we have any other RF check-ins to Skynet? This is in 5BB.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot, India, WB4MFI, Ted Dallas, low power, long time.
This is Kilo India 5, Kilo Tango Zulu, Philip, White Rock Creek.
Okay, we picked up 2 more. WB4MFI, hello, Ted. KF5KTZ, hello, Philip. Okay, last call. Any more RF check-ins? This is in 5BB, Skynet.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Alpha, Papa, Lima, Patrick in Dallas.
Okay, picked up one last RF check-in. KG5CPL. Hello, Patrick. Okay, let's now go over to Echolink. I see N5IMS. JJ, I'm assuming you want to be no audio, but let us know if you want to check in. K5KTX. Kelly, do you want to check in?
This is K5KTX, 5 Kilo Tango X-Ray, Kelly. Tonight, I'm in Tucson, Arizona.
Oh, my, Kelly. K5KTX. Well, that's great. How is the viewing out there in Tucson? Is it nice and high and dry and clear?
It's been a gorgeous day today, though there seems to be a little bit of dust in the air, so I haven't been able to see anything. I just got here a few hours ago, so I haven't really looked. So I'm only going to be here tonight, and then I'm off to Kingman tomorrow. K5KTX.
Oh boy, Kingman, Arizona. Sounds like you're headed west. We'll have a very good trip, Kelly. Thank you very much for checking in. And Echolink's working beautifully for you there in Tucson. I went there a number of times on business in the past. Okay, Now, let's see. Who else is over here? JJ said he, N5IMS, is listen only. Let's see. Who else is over here? KF5JHA, I've already checked in Chaz. KG5ZCT. David, do you want to check in? Oh, he's chat only tonight. Okay, we got you, David. No problem. I see your comment now. Next, let's see. We have Joe, KG5ZMG. You want to check in, Joe?
Golf 5, Zulu Mike Golf, Joe in Arlington.
We got you, Joe, KG5ZMG. I believe that's everybody on Echolink. So, does anyone else want to check in via any mode to Skynet? This is N5BB, net control.
Good evening, this is Alpha Golf, Niner, Sierra Golf, Antonio in Dallas.
Good evening, Antonio. I recognize AG9SG. Any other check-ins via any mode to Skynet? This is N5BB, net control.
Golf 5, Foxtrot, Papa November. This is Tango Alpha India from Arlington.
Hey, Tim, give me your call sign one more time.
Kilo Golf 5, Foxtrot, Papa November. This is Tango Alpha India from Arlington.
We got you, Ty. KG5FTN. Welcome. Thank you very much for checking in here tonight. Do we have any other check-ins to Skynet? This is N5BB. Okay, there will be time for check-ins later. Next, general announcements. Does anybody have any general announcements for tonight's net? These can be related to amateur radio, astronomy, space, or something of general interest to licensed hams. If you have any general announcements, please come now with your call sign only.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
Kilo Golf 5, Alpha Papa Lima.
Very good. I got NT5TM and KG5APL. Go ahead, Tony. NT5TM and 5BB. What's your announcement?
Hey, Bill, I'd like to remind everyone that we do have a Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting coming up this Tuesday. Our presenter is Jim Eatman, KG5WAW, who'll be talking about ionospheric propagation. We're meeting at the Dallas Medical Center. That's the northeast corner of Webb Chapel and LBJ. We're in the third floor community room of the main hospital building. More details are available at w5fc.org. The board meeting is at 6. The exciting general meeting with the fun presentation is at 7. Both are free and open to the public. Tonight, of course, we have one more net. The afterglow movie discussion is going to feature Time Master from 1996. Apparently this had Michael Dorn, not quite sure how to say his name in it, and he's famous, so yay. If you actually watch this movie, please join us to discuss it here at about 10:30 plus or minus a few minutes. have a couple of nets coming up tomorrow night with the meeting on the air at 7 and the Racy's training net at 8. The Racy's training net is only open for check-ins from Racy's appointees, although everyone is welcome to listen. The meeting on the air is more interactive. Any amateur is welcome to check in and share what's been going on in their ham world. So, we have Time Master tonight at 10:30, a really fun meeting coming up this Tuesday at 7, and in the meantime, we have the meeting on the air and the Racy's training net. Oh, and I guess it's probably the first Monday, isn't it? Maybe we have Ham Fixins coming up. We may have a Ham Fixins net coming up this Monday. Let me go look. Yes, it's the first Monday. It's the first Monday. Monday the 6th is the first Monday. So at 7 p.m. we'll be trading recipes, cooking tips, and kitchen anecdotes. So we have a nice full program for the next few days, NC 5 p.m.
Very good, Tony. Thank you very much. There's always something going on in this repeater. Next, we have KG5APL. Patrick, please go ahead with your announcement.
Hey all, this is KG5APL. Yeah, this is more so general interest to folks on this net. Last week, I think it was the Afterglow movie net with Apollo 13, one of my absolute favorite movies, and I imagine for a lot of you all as well. So if y'all enjoyed that movie, I just want to share a few things that are great follow-ups for that or additional resources from that. So I think I plugged it here before, but there's a great podcast out there called Space Rocket History. That's Space Rocket History. He goes into the various, space missions in extreme detail. Just for example, the Apollo 13 series he has is about 30 episodes long. It's pretty much like a small audiobook in a way. But yeah, that's Space Rocket History, and the first podcast for Apollo 13 starts on episode 258. And I think another thing has been said before, but there's a great website out there called Apollo in Real Time. And that's basically where it's the Apollo missions in real time. You just put it on and listen to the missions as they elapse from the communications between mission control and then the various missions out there. And they have one up for Apollo 13. I think they have 11, 13, and 17. But yeah, that's a great thing just to have on in the background, or just to listen and see how the communications were under the normal circumstances for the mission. And the last thing is another movie. If you like Apollo 13, there's one on Netflix called Apollo 10 and a Half. And I would say that's a historical fiction, but the degree of historical or history accuracy is through the roof, very high. I know KU5 ICX always jokes that he can spot an incorrect roll pattern on a rocket, and it might actually stand up to his standards. But yeah, it's a great movie out there. A little bit slow, but a good watch. So that's Apollo 10 and a Half on Netflix, Space Rocket History Podcast, and then Apollo in Real Time websites. All right, hope y'all enjoy those. All the best. KG5APL.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Apollo. For those of you who aren't all that old, this was the U.S. missions to go to the moon in the late 60s and the early 1970s. And they were successful. And there were deaths involved in parts of the project. So it was a serious project, and but it came to fruition. Okay, do we have any questions about those announcements or any additional announcements? This is N5BB, Skynet. Okay, this is N5BB, Skynet. I have a piece of news, not more than an announcement, kind of a general news, and this is a little bit unusual. Skynet is about things when you go outside and look up, it's things you see in the sky. Well, there's something interesting that happened this week. That's something up in the sky, but it wasn't in space. It was nearly in space. Here I've got several things to read. This has been a dynamically changing story today. Here's the Associated Press headline: U.S. downs Chinese balloon, a flashpoint in U.S.-China tensions. The U.S. military on Saturday shot down a suspected Chinese spy balloon off the Carolina coast on orders from President Joe Biden after it traversed sensitive military sites across North America, becoming the latest flashpoint in tensions between Washington and Beijing. Biden said he wanted the balloon downed on Wednesday, but was advised the best time for the operation would be when it was over water. Military officials determined that bringing it down over land from an altitude of 60,000 feet would pose an undue risk to people on the ground. The balloon was spotted Saturday morning over the Carolinas as it approached the Atlantic coast. At about 2:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this afternoon, an F-22 fighter jet fired a missile at the balloon, puncturing it what was about 6 nautical miles off the coast near Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, senior defense officials said. The debris landed in 47 feet of water, shallower than they had expected. Still, it was not immediately clear how long the recovery would take. The Navy is taking the lead, supported by the Coast Guard. They successfully took it down, and I want to compliment our aviators who did it, Biden said after getting off Air Force One en route to Camp David. By the way, they sent up 2 fighter jets, and one of them was successful there. The other one didn't have to shoot its missile. Here's something else from the New York Times. A senior Defense Department official said the delay in shooting down the balloon had allowed Pentagon personnel to track it for about a week and to glean more insight into China's intelligence gathering capability. A senior military official told reporters at the Pentagon that one of the 2 F-22 fighter jets from Langley Air Force Base downed the balloon with a single missile at 2:39 p.m., about 6 miles off the South Carolina coast. The balloon was flying at an altitude between 60 and 65,000 feet, and the fighters were at about 58,000 feet. The pilots safely returned to Langley at 3 p.m. Also, warplanes all went up to support the fighters. And there are photographs that you can easily find of the balloon and payload coming down. So, that's the story from today. The balloon, which the Chinese said was a errant weather balloon, but the payload was, I think, the size of 2 or 3 buses, a pretty big payload in the bottom. And appeared to be steerable, but went over the part of Alaska, the Aleutian Islands, and then went over Canada, and then came down to Idaho and Montana, and then across to South Carolina. And the Defense Department said it was a surveillance flight. Anyway, it's something else up in the sky, not quite in space, but getting close, depending on your definition of where space starts. And hopefully we don't have too much friction with China about this. Next, here's some other announcements. AMSAT, the Radio Amateur Satellite Group, has some local nets. On Tuesday evening at 8 p.m., you can hear the AMSAT net on the 146.88 megahertz repeater, this repeater. However, we do not have this net on the evenings when we have a club meeting, which is this coming Tuesday. So you will not hear this net this coming Tuesday. However, on Wednesday evening, you will find a similar AMSAT net on the Arlington 146.14 megahertz repeater with a PL tone of 110.9 on Wednesday evening at 9 p.m. So on most weeks, here the satellite net, AMSAT, and other satellites on Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. on this repeater, and on Wednesday evening at 9 p.m. on the Arlington 147.14 megahertz repeater. Next, we have many nets on this frequency, on this repeater. This is N5BB, Skynet. Monday, as Tony said earlier, we have Ham Fixings Net, the first week, the first Monday of the month. The second Monday, we have MCOM, Emergency Communications. The third week, another Ham Fixings, because people love to cook. The fourth Monday of the month, we have GeekNet, Geeky Things. And the fifth Monday of the month, if there is a fifth Monday, there isn't always. It's a surprise net. If we knew what it was, if we told you what it was, it wouldn't be a surprise. We usually don't know what it is till the last minute. On Tuesday evenings, as I mentioned, we have the AMSAT Net East at 8 p.m. most Tuesdays. On Friday evenings on this repeater, we have Search City Simulation Net at 8 p.m. on this frequency. Learn about emergency communication via CERT. Melissa KI5GRH is usually in charge of the festivities. It's very disaster prone. All kinds of horrible things occur. Simulated, of course, on that net. All are welcome. Then on Saturdays, it is the night of nets. We have TechNet from 7 to 8 p.m. Skynet, this net, from 9 p.m. to 10:30. And then from 10:30 until roughly midnight, we have the Afterglow net. On the first and third Sundays, we have the Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air. And there's also Racy's nets. And the Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air starts at 7 p.m. on the first and third Sundays. And then at an hour later at 8 p.m., we have Racy's nets on those first and third Sundays. Every night, except for club meeting night, the first Tuesday, every night at 6:30 p.m., we have the National Traffic System Training Net from 6:30 till about 7 p.m. Then, if you want to attend another National Traffic net, there's a National Traffic System. This is message traffic, like telegrams. There's another net on every night of the week at 10:30 p.m. on the 146.72 megahertz Irving repeater, also with a 110.9 PL tone. Everybody's welcome to check in any of the nets. The only net you're not welcome to check in is the Racy's net. You have to be a Racy's member to check into that net. But all the other nets, you're welcome to check in. Just listen to net controls so you know you're checking in at the proper time. Tonight we have an Afterglow net. Ooh, Tom, would you like to read the fantastic script, which of course is completely true and not fictional, and tell us what's involved with the Afterglow movie tonight, K5ICX and 5BB?
Well, thank you, Bill, and I'm glad you asked me that question. And I begin to believe that your Freudian slip Afterglow net might be appropriate. But here we go. Here's tonight's Afterglow info. Michael Dorn reviewed the script. It wasn't what he was expecting, but it was work. He'd been working at a local Long John Silver's, and that gig was getting old. He began his stick. On a faraway planet, a group of aliens play games that affect the past, present, and future destiny of the universe. Collectors are sent through space and time to planets where life forms are collected as contestants for virtual reality games. Dorn seemed confused. "What the hell is this crap?" he asked the director. The director responded, I'm making this movie to keep my kids occupied while their mom is at work. Your job is to explain to the audience the incomprehensible script written by my own son to the dumbfounded audience. Oh, and you have to babysit him from 8 until 10 p.m. tonight. It's part of the contract. Dorn was wondering what this all meant in the scheme of things. He then remembered a phone call from Star Trek's Roddenberry, and he only had to take Roddenberry's kid to school on Mondays. The whole thing was looking hopeless. Maybe you could ask Roddenberry for an acting gig. Join us for another winner from the 1990s, Time Master, a movie I didn't even know existed, from 1996. Tonight at 10:30. And there'll be a special bonus. If you can explain this movie plot to me, there might be a dinner involved for you. Back to you, Bill, KE5ICX.
Oh my, there might be a dinner, and as you realize in our club we sometimes call it a diner. There might be a diner involved. That's right, a diner involved, if you can explain the plot to Tom. Thank you very much, Tom. I'm even more confused than I was before, and I haven't seen the movie, so maybe that's good. Okay, now, do we have any additional check-ins, questions, or comments? This is N5BB, Skynet.
Kilo 5, Juliet Delta Whiskey, John in Coppell, check in.
K5JDW. Thank you, John. John is a traveler that's very, 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 very familiar with I-35. He is extremely familiar with I-35. And he travels it quite often in good weather and bad weather, at all times of day and night. Thank you, John. Okay, now let's move forward. I don't see anybody additional on Echolink. Some people are telling me people are checking in on YouTube. Well, that's fine. They're not here, but I see Marcia in Dallas and Philip K5KOB on YouTube. Hello, Marcia. Hello, Philip. I think that's it. So now let's see. Chaz. It's now time for Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events. Where and when you can look up through a telescope. Chaz, are we going to see any big balloons coming over us with Chinese characters on the side of them? KF5JHA N5BB.
No, someone from Search City shut the thing down. Oh, well. Tom has, I think, some of his information incorrect. He said something about Michael Dorn in his description about the Astroglow. He needs to check his data. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, February the 24th. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also held on Zoom. The featured speaker will be John Kelly, and his topic will be about his time at NASA. Now, Saturday night public observing sessions have begun again. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night so that there was an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions. So today is the first Saturday of the month. That would be the stargazing that's held at Fairview. Is there any ham radio operator at Fairview stargazing that would like to make a report right now? Come down with your call sign, if there is. Yeah, I was afraid there wasn't going to be. All right. Well, check the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas website, texasastro.org, for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. And that's all for the moment now. We're going to go back to our net control N5BB. It's all yours, Bill.
Oh my, that was quick. I thought that you need to go out to where the ships are, or go to the edge of the lake, look at the wharf to find Michael Dorn. And I thought you need to check your data. You need to talk to Brent Spiner, but that's only what I thought. Thank you, Chaz. Okay, now National Space Society events and activities. Well, that's me. I happen to be the membership director and member at large of the National Space Society North Texas chapter. Our meetings are on the second Sunday afternoon of every month. We meet at Spring Creek Barbecue at Highway 183 and Beltline in Irving, starting at 3:30 p.m. So our next meeting will be in a little over a week on February the 12th. And I have the meeting information. The meeting information will be Dr. Tanya Rogers, who is in situ resource utilization test director at NASA Johnson Space Center, will be speaking to us virtually and will tell us about in situ resource utilization. This is like using materials we can find on the moon to extract water for fuel or living or oxygen. Same thing on Mars. So that should be very interesting. There will be a WebEx session because it will be a virtual meeting, but we will be also meeting in person at Spring Creek Barbecue in Irving. If you would like you can come over to the meeting if you'd like to be there in person, or you can attend virtually on WebEx. If you'd like an invitation to attend that, I'm the one that sends those out. So you need to send me an email. Bill, N5BB, National Space Society, Membership Director and Member at Large. My email address is space@byrom.net. That's SPACE@BYROM.net. Or N5BB, that's November 5 Bravo Bravo, @ARRL.net. So let me know if you would like to attend that meeting of the National Space Society, even virtually. Then the big news we have is the International Space Development Conference. That's going to be held in North Texas this year. The ISDC 2023 will be May 25th to 28th. This is the early part of the Labor Day week, the Memorial Day weekend. At Embassy Suites by Hilton in Frisco. Find out more at isdc2023.nss.org. Or send me an email if you have any questions about National Space Society or if you want to join our organization. If you are a member of the National Space Society, you sign up, months in advance, or weeks in advance at least, you can get big discounts to attending the International Space Development Conference. But you got to sign up in advance or you won't be able to do that. Probably April the 1st will probably be the cutoff for the discount earlier tickets. But there'll be all kinds of interesting keynote speakers there and dinners and presentations by people who are very instrumental in building the next generation's spaceships and space stations and lunar habitats and figuring out how to get food on the moon and all that kind of stuff. People interested in art in space, you name it, they'll be there. And we're also trying to get together some communication, even some amateur radio communication things going on there. So, that is all my information about National Space Society, except if you're one of the crazy people active on Facebook, you can look up National Space Society of North Texas on Facebook, and you'll find some things about us there. And our website is ntx.nss.org. It's NTX, that's the abbreviation for North Texas, ntx.nss.org. That's all I've got. Does anybody have any questions or comments or any additional check-ins? This is N5BB, Skynet. Nothing heard. Okay, now you got to listen to the discussion topic of this evening by myself, and I'll try to keep this short. The topic is aggregate effects of proliferating low Earth orbiting objects and implications for astronomical data lost in the noise. So this was published on February the 1st of this year at the arxiv.org repository. And here is the abstract. Now, I'm going to keep this pretty short. I'm going to mainly read the abstract and maybe a little bit more. The rising population of artificial satellites and associated debris in low-altitude orbits is increasing the overall brightness of the night sky, threatening ground-based astronomy as well as a diversity of stakeholders and ecosystems reliant on dark skies. We present calculations of the potentially large rise in global sky brightness from space objects, including qualitative and quantitative assessments of how professional astronomy may be affected. Debris proliferation is a special concern, since all log decades in debris size contribute approximately the same amount of night sky radiance. Debris-generating events are expected to lead to a rapid rise in night sky brightness, along with serious collision risk for satellites from centimeter-sized objects. And I'll break in and say what this means is that when you have larger objects that collide, that produces smaller-sized debris, and it can collide and lead to even smaller-sized debris. And what this is pointing out is that the smaller sized debris has just as bad an effect as the big debris, and you get more of them. So if big things break into much smaller things, there's many more of them, and it leads to even more sky brightness. Instead of a few bright, large objects, you have a large number, a big haze of dimmer objects, but it causes even more problems when they break up into a mist of small debris. Anyway, this will lead to loss of astronomical data and diminish opportunities for ground-based discoveries as faint astrophysical signals become increasingly lost in the noise. This is N5BB, Skynet. Lastly, we discussed the broader consequences of brighter skies for a range of sky constituencies, equity, inclusion, and accessibility for Earth and space-based science, and cultural sky traditions. Space and dark skies represent an intangible heritage that deserves intentional preservation and safeguarding for future generations. this is N5BB, Skynet. I'll read a little bit more here from this paper. Space objects in low Earth orbit are proliferating rapidly. Orbital space near the Earth has been transformed radically since the launch of the first artificial satellite in 1957. The number of functional satellites in low Earth orbit, LEO, has more than doubled. That's right, more than doubled since early 2019 due to the advent of large groups of satellites informally known as mega constellations. As low Earth orbiting satellites becomes an increasingly congested space, the risk of collisions between and among objects increases exponentially and risk an uncontrolled chain reaction of debris-generating events. In only 3 years, satellite megaconstellations have become an increasingly serious threat to astronomy. We are witnessing a dramatic, fundamental, and perhaps semi-permanent transformation of the night sky without historical precedent and with limited oversight. The number of satellites planned for launch in the 2020s and beyond is enormous, driven primarily by private companies motivated by profit. Their potential effects on astronomy are in need of more basic data on the varying brightness of satellites in orbit. This is also beginning to be studied through simulations, data processing solutions, and calculations of impacts. Also see the Trailblazer Open Data Repository. Nevertheless, we fear that faint astrophysical signals will become increasingly lost in the noise due to satellite megaconstellations. LEO crowding is changing the nature of the space environment. Direct illumination by sunlight of functional satellites, failed satellites, leftover launch hardware, and debris fragments, collectively called space objects, makes them visible as streaks or trails in astronomical, optical, and infrared images, which can compromise scientific data. Myriad smaller objects contribute to elevating the diffuse brightness of the night sky. Some researchers, Kosovaj et al., estimated that even before the mega constellation era began, space objects already contributed additional light at the zenith, amounting to as much as 10% of an assumed natural background level. Large objects such as intact satellites make a small but non-negligible contribution to diffuse night sky brightness, abbreviated NSB, night sky brightness. A greater concern is the generation of small debris. As of mid-2022, the number of objects larger than 10 centimeters in size, so this is larger than about 4 inches in size, orbiting the Earth, was estimated around 36,500 objects. Below that size scale, there is little publicly available information on the population of debris. The number of centimeter-sized objects that could seriously damage satellites in collisions is probably around 1 million. These small objects also disproportionately contribute to rising diffuse night sky brightness. Objects with a lower size limit ranging from 1 micron to 5 meters in diameter implies that all log decades in object size contribute approximately the same amount of night sky radiance. In other words, the really tiny objects end up contributing, because there's so many of them, contributing just as much of night sky radiance as the big ones. So as things proliferate, it's going to get worse. This remains true even if the rate of new launches slows or stops altogether, as the population of objects with smaller sizes will likely increase as a result of newly generated debris from existing satellites. There are no known effective mitigations for the problem of elevated night sky brightness, other than drastic reductions in satellite launches or satellite brightness. Satellites also pose a threat to astronomy outside the visual and near-infrared bands. Radio astronomy is vulnerable to the direct and indirect emissions of radio energy from satellites, and in particular to out-of-band transmissions and side lobes. Direct illumination of radio telescopes by satellites transmitting to the ground could damage or destroy sensitive radio detectors. Some scholars identify an environmental continuum between Earth and space that calls for reconsideration of space sustainability and define near-Earth space as part of the human environment. A new space environmentalism framework has been suggested to manage outer space sustainably and equitably. So I'm going to stop here because there's much more and lots of graphs and everything in this article. Much more for me to read. And okay, here's the last paragraph. To paraphrase the Senegalese conservationist Baba Diom, we will conserve only what we value only what we know, and know only what we are taught. We conclude by offering the hope that we can still deliver on the promise of human activity and development in and from space by proceeding sustainably for all stakeholders and preserving space as a resource for future generations. We must become proactive now or risk irreparable harm to astronomy resulting from the current rush to capitalize on the exploitation of LEO and other space resources. So, Chaz, you might want to look, if you look in the script, at my link for this paper, because there's lots of things to show your students about night sky brightness, and signal noise ratios, and all kinds of things happening here. Lots of information in the results. Okay, that's all that I have about that topic. Do we have any comments or questions or check-ins to Skynet? This is N5BB. Nothing heard. Over here, it looks like Kelly is moving somewhere, but I don't know where. I can't tell. I don't know if Kelly is leaving us or not, but she's moving out of her house, it looks like. I got a contract. Okay. So, next, we have What's Up? Chaz. What's up, Chaz? This is N5BB.
Thank you, Bill. Good evening, everyone. This is Chaz, KF5JHA, and we call this segment of Skynet What Is Up, because it's all about what's going on astronomically over the next couple of weeks. Slide master, that would be Tom. That was slide number 1. Slide number 2, please. On January the 28th was the first quarter phase of the moon. That was a week ago. So the current phase of the moon is a waxing gibbous. It's close to being a full moon. Today, on February the 4th, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth, at a distance of 406,476 kilometers. Full moon will occur tomorrow on February the 5th. On February the 13th is the third quarter phase of the moon. On February the 19th, the moon is at its perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth, at a distance of 358,267 kilometers. Slide master, slide number 3, please. Excuse me. I'll be giving away that frog over the air with a random drawing in a few minutes. Comet C2022 E3 ZTF is now within the range of binoculars from very dark sky sites. It was discovered back in March of 2022 at the Zwicky Transient Facility. Comet magnitude estimates are difficult to predict, but this comet has just about lived up to its predictions. Currently, it is an estimated brightness of about 5.0. The video portion of Skynet, a couple of people have already checked in on that, on the YouTube one, has a recent image and a couple of finder charts. Now, tonight, right now, the comet is located about 5 degrees north of the bright star Capella. I was going to go out and look at it a little bit ago. It completely clouded over after sunset at my location. My friend Dennis Harwell observed the comet just last night from a very dark sky site using binoculars, but he was unable to see it with just his 2 eyes. Now, if you want to search for the comet, just do 2022, that's 2022, space E3, and you should find some, well, maybe lots more information. Good luck. If you see it, you can report it here in Skynet. Slide master, slide number 4, please. Now, I usually don't talk about the outer members of the solar system, but on February the 11th, that's in about a week, the planet Mercury will only be about 2 degrees away from the planet Pluto in the very low, early morning east-southeastern sky. Now, only the largest amateur telescopes will be able to see Pluto. But if you've never seen it and you have a big telescope, maybe you can find it that early morning. Slide master, slide number 5. If you've never seen the planet Neptune through a telescope, then you could try it on February the 14th, Valentine's Day. The planet Venus and Neptune will only be about a half a degree apart in this very close conjunction in the western evening sky. Now, I saw Venus this evening, and it's pretty high up in the western evening sky, so this should be an easy thing to do. You need a telescope, once again, to be able to see Neptune. Slide master, slide number 6, please. On February the 18th, the moon will be around 6 degrees away from the planet Mercury in the very low east-southeastern morning sky. Binoculars might be needed to see both the moon and Mercury in strong twilight. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide master, I've already talked about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting, so we're going to skip that slide. Slide 7, go to slide number 8, please. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any of the information, or do you just need a general question on astronomy answered? Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill. Oh, I'm so glad nobody asked me where babies come from. Okay, slide number 9, please. So as the moon will wane at the end of this month, so do these words of this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live, at least right now. And until next time, actually, I might be doing another segment on Skynet tonight. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5JJ. Back to our net control, N5BB. It's yours again.
Well, thank you, Chaz. This is N5BB, net control for Skynet. Do we have any questions, comments, or late check-ins? If so, please come now. On Echolink, I see Johnny, KG5TNF. Johnny, would you like to check in to Skynet? If so, please come now with your location. KG5TNF N5BB. Are you there? Nothing there. I guess Johnny really isn't there. Okay. Any other check-ins? The any mode to Skynet. This is N5BB. Okay, next we have space exploration and space history. Brenda, give us some space exploration news. This is N5BB.
WB50ZL. Thank you. Give me just a second to scroll down. I lost my place. I'll be just a second. I really envy those people who have been able to see the comet. I wish I could, but haven't. Maybe soon. My apologies. All right, let's start with news. This is Black History Month. We all know that. And we celebrate it every February. And we're all aware of the first black astronaut in space, Guion Bluford, and the first black woman in space, Dr. Mae Jemison. But the person who should have been the first black person in space was Robert Lawrence. He was assigned to the MOL program, but tragically died in a plane crash in 1967. In 1998, NASA assigned astronaut status to all the men in the MOL program. Next, James Webb Space Telescope discovers water ice at ringed asteroid Caelum. In October 2022, the James Webb Space Telescope watched as Caelum, a tiny ringed asteroid, eclipsed a star. This event, called an occultation, marked a first for Webb. At the month's end, Webb turned toward Caelum again and notched another victory. For the first time, astronomers analyzing the telescope's data spotted clear signs of water ice, the presence of which has only been hinted at until now. These observations will guide astronomers to better understand the nature and behavior of tiny bodies in outer reaches of our solar system. Next, RDRE. NASA's propulsion development engineers have built and tested the agency's first full-scale rotating detonation rocket engine, or RDRE for short. This advanced rocket engine design could change how propulsion systems are built in the future in a big way. This work comes as NASA begins to take the first steps toward establishing a long-term presence on the surface of the moon. The RDRE is different from other rocket engines because it gets thrust from a supersonic combustion process called detonation. This design can power human landers and interplanetary vehicles that travel to faraway places like the moon and Mars. This is because it produces more power than current propulsion systems while using less fuel. Then let's talk about the comet. I think it's been talked about already, but so I think we'll skip that. Birthdays, astronaut birthdays. Christina Koch, January 29th, 1979. She flew on Soyuz MS-12, Soyuz MS-13. That's Expedition 59, 60, and 61. Wally Funk, January 31st, 1939, Blue Origin NS-16. Daniel M. Tanny, February 1st, 1961, STS-108, STS-120-122, Expedition 16. Joe F. Edwards, Jr., February 3rd, 1958, STS-89. Moving on to history, January 31st, 1961, a chimpanzee named Ham became the first chimp in space, launching aboard Mercury Redstone 2 for a 17-minute suborbital flight. Ham survived the flight and gained instant fame upon his return. Ham had been trained to respond to lights and operate controls. He survived the mission and lived in zoos until his death in 1983. The successful mission enabled naval aviator Alan Shepard to become the first American in space 4 months later. January 31st, 1971, Apollo 14 was the 8th crewed mission in the United States Apollo program. It launched on that date. This was the third to land on the moon and the first to land in the lunar highlands. It was the last of the H missions, landings at specific sites of scientific interest on the moon for 2-day stays with 2-hour lunar extravehicular activities, EVAs or moonwalks. The mission was crewed by Stuart Roosa, Ed Mitchell, and Alan Shepard. Roosa, who worked in forestry in his youth, took several hundred tree seeds on the flight. They were germinated after the return to Earth, and they were widely distributed around the world as commemorative moon trees. February 1st, 2003, Space Shuttle Columbia broke apart in the skies over Texas. This Shuttle Columbia disaster was a fatal accident in the United States space program, which occurred on February 1st, 2003. During the STS-107 mission, Space Shuttle Columbia disintegrated as it re-entered the atmosphere over Texas, killing all 7 astronauts on board. It was the second space shuttle mission to end in disaster after the Challenger disaster in 1986, which killed all 7 crew members during ascent. During the STS-107 launch, a piece of the insulative foam broke off from the space shuttle external tank and struck the thermal protection system tiles on the orbiter's left wing. When Columbia re-entered the atmosphere of Earth, the damage allowed hot atmospheric gases to penetrate the heat shield and destroy the internal wing structure, which caused the orbiter to become unstable and break apart. Back to net. This is WB50ZL.
Thank you very much, Brenda. By the way, I also just noticed some news here in the last few days. NASA and DARPA are planning to build a nuclear rocket for a cislunar demonstration mission by 2027. The agency wants the technology to use in crewed missions to Mars. So this is a thermal nuclear. So there is evidently a nuclear reactor that is used to heat up some kind of propellant. So rather than using chemical engineering, chemical energy from a reaction to produce the heat to expand the propellant, they're going to use a nuclear reactor to do that. And in January, they just signed an agreement between NASA and DARPA, and they hope to be able to launch this, I believe, for a moon mission, demonstration mission, in 4 years, in 2027. So this is new. They've talked about this for years, but they're finally actively working on it with an agreement. Okay, So does anybody have any questions or comments? Or do we have any additional check-ins? This is N5BB, Skynet. And as comments have been made over by Kelly on Echolink, Christina Koch, K-O-C-H, is on the short list for a moon mission. So that's interesting. Okay, let me scroll down. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. What do you say, Chaz? Tell us about what we can see out there in the sky if there's no overcast. KF5JHA and 5BB.
Maybe it'll be clear tomorrow night. Slide Masters, slide number 10. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC50ZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total constellations, so Miss Caelum covered the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we have continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Caelum's Constellations of the Week is Caelum, the Chisel, and Columba, the Dove. We get a twofer tonight. Slide Master, slide number 11, please. Caelum constellation is located in the southern hemisphere of the sky. It is named, in Latin, means the chisel. The small, faint constellation was originally named for a sculptor's chisel. It is one of the 14 constellations named by French astronomer Nicolas Lasalle in the 18th century. Caelum is the 8th smallest constellation in the sky, occupying only an area of 125 square degrees. There are no myths associated with this constellation. And Slide Master 12, this is what all of you have been looking for. We're going to do a lot more jokes than normal because we've got two constellations. So Slide Master, slide number 12. So my body looks as if it were chisels from marble. I'm not muscular whatsoever, but I just have a marbled complexion. Oh, come on, that was funny. People keep telling me that ancient statues of people are idealized to make the person look better. I guess you could say their features are chiseled. That's about the same joke as the first one. A friend texted me last February during Snowmageddon, 2 years ago, I should say. Windows frozen. I texted back, pour warm water on it, then lightly tap the edges with a hammer and chisel. 10 minutes later, they texted me back, I need a new computer now. See, it was a different window. It was a computer. Never mind. Okay. Pigeons are just like doves, except no one invites them to weddings. What bird can do more than others? Pelicans. What bird works in construction? A crane. What bird goes to church? A cardinal. And finally, what bird is in a band? A rock dove. Kelly, I think you probably appreciated all those bird jokes. I hope you did anyway. She's a birder. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 13, please. Caelum's brightest star, Alpha Caeli, shines at a magnitude of 4.44 and is difficult to see from light-polluted areas like DFW. It is a binary star approximately 65 light-years away in distance and about only 100 million years old. It is suspected to be a member of the Ursa Major moving group. And it's really far away from Ursa Major. The binary star's primary component is an F-type main sequence star, which is suspected to be a Delta Scuti type variable star, which exhibits variations in luminosity as a result of both radial and non-radial pulsations on its surface. Kind of an interesting, complex star. The companion is a red dwarf belonging to the spectral class M0.55 with an apparent magnitude of 9.8. Gamma Caelum is designated for two star systems separated by only 0.2 of a degree in the sky. In a small telescope, the system is resolved into a red giant and a white giant with apparent magnitudes of 4.5 and 6.34, respectively. Slide master, slide number 14, please. Caelum does not have any prominent deep sky objects, only a few very faint galaxies. NGC 1679 is a barred spiral galaxy located 2 degrees just south of Zeta Caelum. The galaxy has an apparent magnitude of 13.1, which is pretty faint, and occupies an area of only 2 minutes by 0.2 of a minute in size. It was discovered by John Herschel on the 18th of November in 1835. It lies at an approximate distance of 48 million light years from the Earth. Slide master, slide number 15. IC2106. It's an index catalog, that's why it says IC, but usually that means you can't see. IC2106 is a barred spiral galaxy that lies approximately 229 million light years from the Earth. The galaxy was discovered by Lewis Swift on December 26, 1897. It has a visual magnitude of 13 again. Wow. Slide number 16. Columba. The constellation is a dove, is located in the southern sky, and its name means dove in Latin. The constellation's original name was Noah's dove. It was named after the biblical dove that informed Noah that the great flood was receding. Noah's dove is sent from the ark to see if there is any dry land left after the great flood. The bird returns holding an olive branch in its beak, signaling that the flood is receding. Columba is the 54th constellation in size, occupying only an area of 270 square degrees. Slide master, slide number 17. Fact, which is Alpha Columbi, is the brightest star in Columba. It belongs to a spectral class of B7 IVE. The star has an apparent magnitude of 2.6 and is approximately 270 light years in distance. It's a double star composed of a BE-type subgiant. Slide master, slide number 18, please. NGC 1808 is a Seyfert galaxy approximately 40 million light years in distance. It has an apparent magnitude of 10.8 and apparent size of 6.5 by 3.9 minutes in size. NGC 1808 is a barred spiral galaxy that shares a number of similarities with the Milky Way galaxy. It is an unusual nucleus shaped like a warped disk and shows odd flows of hydrogen gas flowing out of the central regions. The galaxy is believed to have a lot of star formation activity occurring in it currently. Slide master, slide number 19. NGC 1851 is a globular star cluster in Columba. It has an apparent magnitude of 7.3 and is approximately 39,500 light years in distance. The cluster occupies only an area of 11 minutes in size. And this is KF5 JHA, and this is Skynet. Master, the last slide of my slide deck, please. There are a few more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Caelum and the Chisel and Columba the Dove. I've just given you a sampling of a few of those objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 75 different observing programs, most of which have about 100 objects. If you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen from the Astronomical League in about a year. and that is Miss Carolyn's Constellations of the Week, Caelum, the Chisel, and Columba, the Dove. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for their research and words on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now, next time I'll take a look at something that I think all of you know, Orion the Hunter. And this is KF5JHA sending it back to our net control 73, everyone. It's all yours, Bill, N5BB.
Well, thank you, Chaz. This is N5BB Net Control Skynet. We're going to skip the launches right now. Brenda, do you have any interesting recent astronomical discoveries? WB5OZL N5BB.
This is WB5OZL. Yes, I have an article entitled Astronomers Uncover a 1 in 10 billion binary star system, Kilonova Progenitor System. Astronomers using the SMARTS, S-M-A-R-T-S, 1.5-meter telescope at Cerro Chololo Inter-American Observatory in Chile, a program of NSF's NOR lab, have uncovered the first example of a phenomenally rare type of binary star system, one that has all the right conditions to eventually trigger a kilonova, an ultra-powerful gold-producing explosion created by colliding the neutron stars. Such an arrangement is so vanishingly rare that only about 10 such systems are thought to exist in the entire Milky Way galaxy. The findings are published today in the journal Nature. The unusual system, known as CPD-292176, is located about 11,400 light years from Earth. It was first identified by NASA's Neil Guerin's Swift Observatory. Later observations with the SMARTS 1.5-meter telescope allowed astronomers to deduce the orbital characteristics and types of stars that make up this system. A neutron star created by an ultra-stripped supernova and a closely orbiting massive star that is in the process of becoming an ultra-stripped supernova itself. An ultra-stripped supernova is the end-of-life explosion of a massive star that has had much of its outer atmosphere stripped away by a companion star. This class of supernova lacks the explosive force of a traditional supernova, which would otherwise kick a nearby companion star out of the system. The current neutron star would have to form without ejecting its companion within the system. An ultra-stripped supernova is the best explanation for why these companion stars are in such a tight orbit, said Noel D. Richardson of Embry-Riddle Astronomical University and lead author of the paper. To one day create a kilonova, the other star would also need to explode as an ultra-stripped supernova so the two neutron stars could eventually collide and merge, as well as representing the discovery of an incredibly rare cosmic oddity. Finding and studying kilonova progenitor systems such as this can help astronomers unravel the mystery of how kilonovae form, shedding light on the origin of the heaviest elements in the universe. For quite some time, astronomers speculated about the exact conditions that could eventually lead to a kilonova, said NORLAB astronomer and co-author Andre Nicholas Chenet. These new results demonstrate that in at least some cases, two sibling neutron stars can merge when one of them was created without a classical supernova explosion. Producing such an unusual system, however, is a long and unlikely process. We know that the Milky Way contains at least 100 billion stars and likely hundreds of billions more. This remarkable binary system is essentially a 1 in 10 billion system, says Chenet. Prior to our study, the estimate was that one or two such systems should exist in a spiral galaxy like the Milky Way. Though the system has all the right stuff to eventually form a kilonova, it will be up to future astronomers to study that event. It will take at least 1 billion years for the massive star to end its life as a titanic supernova explosion and leave behind a second neutron star. This new stellar remnant and the pre-existing neutron star will then need to gradually draw together in a cosmic ballet, slowly losing their energy orbital energy as gravitational radiation. When they eventually merge, the resulting kilonova explosion will produce much more powerful gravitational waves and leave behind in its wake a large amount of heavy elements, including silver and gold. All right, back to net. This is WB50ZL.
Well, I'm not going to wait around for it, Brenda. This is N5BB Skynet. Do we have any last-minute
I'm completely operational, and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
Okay. 73 RAM. Does anybody have any last comments, questions, or check-ins before I close the net? This is N5BB, Skynet Net Control. Okie dokie. Oh, Sean, KB9SOK. Did you want to check in, Sean? No microphone. I'll check you in anyway. KB9SOK. Okay, Sean. That gets us up to 27 stations. I want to thank everybody for checking in tonight to Skynet. We had 27 hams participating on the air. Thanks to all of you who checked in this evening. Hope you join us here next week, every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other Dallas Amateur Radio Club nets. That's right here from the heart of North Texas. If you would like to try your hand at this, becoming net control, contact any of the net controls. You can send an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as their audio and visual streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to W5FC, that's Whiskey 5 Fried Chicken.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is N5BB. Bill, I'll be closing the net at 10:32 p.m. Central Time, returning a repeater to normal amateur use. 73, everybody, enjoy the evening discovering the universe. It's now time to go to Tom, K5ICX, for Afterglow. N5BB clear.
And thank you, Bill, for doing a great net. It was a very interesting topic this evening. And this is KE5ICX. I'll be net control for the Afterglow Movie Net, which will be starting here in about 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Come back then. We'll be talking about Time Master from 1996 with Michael Dorn. Yeah, that guy. Back in 5. This is KE5ICX.
Not to be confused with data, Brent Spiner. I did not have time to watch it, Tom. Too much going on today. So I will miss Afterglow. But I do want to watch this movie probably some other time, if I can see if it's as bad as I think it is. Good evening. Have a good net. N5BB is clear. Don't get hit with any Chinese balloons.
Okay, what you've been waiting for. Tonight's Afterglow movie net involves Time Master. Film from 1996. I was going to read you the basic synopsis. This actually came from a guy named Hal Peterson, who happened to actually watch the film and document it, because Wikipedia doesn't seem to think that it's important enough to really discuss it. And they may be right. So what is the Afterglow Movie Net? Well, we are assigned a movie each week. Brenda usually picks them. And from there, we then watch the film either together or separately, and we come back and we discuss it the following Saturday after Skynet. This week's movie is called Time Master from 1996. I'll now read you the synopsis. Time Master opens in a desolate-looking Yellowstone Park in the year 2007, the future. The world has been destroyed by some sort of disaster, and a few remaining survivors are living in a Mad Max type of world where they camp out in the ruins to defend themselves from raiders. Narration from a man who identifies himself as the chairman, played by Michael Dorn, is heard explaining the premise of the film. On a faraway planet, a group of aliens play games that affect the past, present, and future destiny of the universe. The aliens send collectors through space and time to planets where there are life forms to collect them as contestants, or actually pawns for these virtual reality games, since the contestants really do not have free will over the outcomes. The chairman continues by saying how Earth has been a very fertile source of life forms for their games, which have created wars, assassinations, and other forms of havoc on the planet. The aliens bet on the outcome of these games with blue, the distilled substance of eternal life, which is extracted from the losers of the game. Isaiah, played by Pat Morita, their main collector on Earth, has been sent to gather the full contestants for the final contestants for thermonuclear war. Let's play, shall we? Which will then finish off Earth. But Isaiah has become disenchanted with the games and their intent to destroy Earth, and he plans to bring Jesse, I won't even venture to name Jesse's last name, who he believes can successfully challenge the outcome of the games and stop the destruction of Earth. And this is KE5ICX. The chairman is one step ahead, collecting Jesse's parents as contestants in the game on his planet, while he sends Jesse and his sister Veronica, played by Vanessa, his sister, back in time as orphans. The chairman says that although Isaiah may teach Jesse how to time travel, he won't be able to stop the aliens from playing out their plan to destroy Earth. We then see his collectors invade the camp at Yellowstone and eventually take Jesse's parents back to their game arena, where Jesse's mother, Evelyn, is put into a new reality game with a contestant named Mortar. The game is set in the Old West in the 19th century and includes Jesse and his father, Jonathan, as characters in a battle of townspeople, gunfighters, and outlaws. If all of this seems confusing, don't worry, it is. Time Master takes several viewings to figure out, and even then, it really doesn't make a lot of sense. After these opening sequences, we then see Jesse and his sister at an orphanage in 1996. Jesse is told that a family has agreed to take him, but he will be separated from his sister. Not wanting that to happen, Jesse escapes that night, where he runs into Isaiah, who shows him how to enter the time travel port. The film then has its most clever sequence, as we see Jesse travel through space-time continuum, where the history of Earth appears in bubbles along the way. Jesse's first stop is back in the Old West, where he has to help his father recover from the wounds received in the gun battle game described above, and finish the Wild West story with the assistance of Billy the Kid. He also meets with Annie, whom he brings with him through the time portal after he finishes fixing history in the Old West. As the story continues, Jesse, Isaiah, and Annie travel to different eras and times to save his parents and prevent the destruction of the world as a byproduct of the aliens' games. The premise allows the move to jump forward jump around to different times and locations, switching from the Old West to a biker bar to an alpine ski chase and to a planet of the aliens. Not apes, aliens. Throughout these diverse scenes, Jesse keeps running into his family members at different times and ages, and it seems that somehow his parents are always involved in different games being played. In each scene, Jesse turns out to be the one person who can make everything change, acting as a protector for his family and for planet Earth. The film builds to a climax when Jesse actually takes on the chairman in a final game for the survival. Pardon me, I'm yawning. Survival of Earth. It is never really explained why Jesse is such a focal point for the survival of the universe, why he is so knowledgeable about the stakes of this battle between the worlds, so able to deal with parents as an equal in such a wide variety of situations, and why his family members are so integral to the game. But when you are the son of the writer and director, well, things happen. And then there's a brief description from the person who wrote the synopsis, Chuck, in fact, from chucksconnection.com. He goes into details that we will probably go into as well, so I'm going to spare you those details because, quite frankly, you're going to bring them up in discussion for whomever may check in, which is what I'm going to do now, is check people in who happen to have seen the movie Time Master from 1996. If you did not, you can still check in. We don't mind. And you'll be asked, would you be willing to watch this movie after hearing all of the comments? And of course, the answer will be something. So I will now take check-in. Please come now with your call sign, your name, and did you see Time Master from 1996? I will begin check-in now.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Tony in Dallas. I did not see the movie. I'm really just listening and breaking the ice.
Kilo 5, Alpha, November, Echo, Kane and Richardson, and yes, I saw the movie.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda, and DeSoto.
Okay, we'll start with that. I got NT5T and Tony breaking the ice in Dallas. No, he did not see it. You're lucky. And Kane, I think it's K5A and K5A and E, isn't it? I wrote something down completely different.
Kilo 5, Alpha, November, Echo.
I do not know why, even with phonetics, I wrote something completely different down, but I did get it right in my mind, just not on paper. K5A&E, Kane. In Richardson, yes, he saw the film. KG5BZWJ near Weatherford, no, he did not. WE5OZL, Brendan DeSoto, she picked it, so we know she saw it. I'll take additional check-ins. If you want to join us, please come now with your call sign, your name. Did you see Time Master from 1996? Okay, well, I suspected this might happen. Anybody who actually started watching this film got confused. So, let's see here. Tony, I'm going to put you aside. Stand over here. Don't make any sounds. You can sit in that chair in the corner. K5A&E, Kane, you saw the film. What did you think about the plot? And if you don't mind, if you do understand the plot, please explain it to me from KE5ICX.
Yeah, this plot was really a mess, for sure. They really trying to go above and beyond and create kind of this extreme, wondrous kind of world, but in the end, just really kind of led us to not really understand anything about it, anything of the sort, and it was just a huge mess. Yeah, like, why was this family so important for some reason? We never know. We never find out. Like, what was special about these parents? Now, it's kind of implied that they were called out because Isaiah chose them, but Isaiah chose them because they were also being called out. So I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to poke fun at the idea of, cause and effect and things like that with that kind of, strategy. But in the end, it's just a mess, and we really don't understand anything about that. And then, there's that whole strange, I don't know, romance thing, but it's he's a child, so they can't really make, a romance factor in there, but they just, suddenly, oh yeah, and then there's this girl that's suddenly there in the universe that he's kind of, I don't know, interested in or something, but never really talk about that and never really discuss this or really kind of anything like that. It's just suddenly here this other person that barely talks that's also somehow seemingly meaningful to this boy despite never really explaining that. But yeah, very strange. Yeah, and I still don't understand, so the dad was, the pawn, in the game, but the mom was, one of the great players of the game, but, why, that, I don't know, I don't understand that split on there. So was the mom actually, of that race of aliens or something? Were those aliens humans, really? Were they really, I mean, there was almost nothing about them that made them not humans, but for the fact that they're at the edge of the universe or something like that, I don't know, and they're in the far-flung future, but that future is what? I can't remember the dates now. It wasn't that far in the future from today, only 20 or 30 years or something like that, I think. I would have to go and check those dates, but that would require me to watch the movie again, and I'm definitely not doing that. This whole movie was just all over the place, and oh yeah, and then also this idea, it's okay, so you have all these people that are ageless, and yet one of the people that they bother actually giving an age to in this world of ageless people is 25. What? I get the whole idea of see this person gambling away their life and whatnot, but it's wait, so this society of ageless people, and yet there's lots of people apparently, because just picking one at random out of the crowd is only 25. So I don't know. That feels so weird to me to be a 25-year-old in a universe filled with I don't know, the average other person near me is 1,000 years old or 20,000 years old, and then I'm just 25. What? Quite strange. So yeah, this whole movie just really didn't make any sense in the slightest, and was probably the biggest stinker I think I've seen so far with this group. So, what a show. K5 A&E, back to net.
Very good. Thank you, Kane. Welcome back. I'm sorry you had to be a part of this particular film, because I think this one rivals what was my favorite film of everything that we've seen, The Creeping Terror. Now, I got overruled as far as the worst movie ever made, which ended up being Battlefield Earth by unpopular demand. But I think this film, Time Master, is find a new low, and an incomprehensible one at that. But I want to save my comments for later. I'm going to set Jay over in the other corner. I'll come back to you in a little bit, Jay. And I'm going to go to Brenda, who did see the film, even though she didn't say she did. Brenda, what did you think of Time Master from 1996 from KE5ICX?
This is WB5OZL. Oh, yes, I did see the movie. Once. And once is all it'll ever be. I thought, well, maybe if I went back and watched it again, it'd make sense. I don't think so. Okay, I got it figured out. You know how movies are not shot in order? We all know this. And then later they edit it and they put it together to make a coherent story. I think they just didn't do that. They just put it all out there the way they shot it, and that's why it doesn't make any sense. I couldn't figure this thing out. Every scene in itself was, kind of fun and interesting, and we got crashes and chases, and we got Mad Max stuff, all kinds of things like that. But I couldn't figure it out. And time travel movies, we have seen a lot of those, are notorious about us going, huh? What happened? Trying to figure it out. Well, this one, I think, took that to a new low, or maybe a new high in obfuscation. So I just don't know what they were thinking. I believe they must have all been drunk. That's the only explanation. All right, back to net, WB5OZL.
Okay, well, we found the motivations for the film, and I would agree they were on crack cocaine or drunk or something. They methamphetamines. Everybody kind of figured that. Okay, well, I'm going to reserve my comments. I'm going to see if take a round of check-ins here. I think there may be a couple of other people out there, maybe one. Would anyone else like to join us this evening before I start going down the list again? And then I'm going to actually include our two people who did not see the film. But tonight's movie is Time Master from 1996, directed by a guy and starring his family. So that should tell you a lot right there. But it also had Michael Dorn in it. I guess he was desperate. So if you'd like to join us and you've not been called upon yet or acknowledged by Net Control, please come now with your call sign, your name, and did you see Time Master from 1996? And I thought Sean would even check in, but I guess that's not going to happen. All right, well, we'll go on to the next section here. I'm going to ask about characterization for the people who did see the film, but I'm going to ask everyone else, which is the only other two people that are on the net that have not seen the film, whether they would want to see this film, and does it remind them of anything unpleasant from their childhood. So I'm going to start at the top. First off, I'm going to ask Tony, NT5TM. Tony, why didn't you see this film? And what are your thoughts about it so far, based on what we just told you? Was there a motivation not to see it? Because usually you go, well, I'm going to watch it very quickly during Skynet. But apparently that didn't happen this time. Can you explain why? From KE5ICX.
Well, it's hard to explain why. I do sometimes scant my proper attention to Skynet and watch the movie. But in this case, I was tired, and I thought Skynet sounded pretty interesting. And I thought the movie sounded pretty terrible, and so, well, it was just more worth it to focus on Skynet. And I got a lot out of that. You know, Skynet's a lot of work, and I really appreciate all the presenters there. And it's, you know, it's more worth it to take a deep dive in Skynet. I was looking up blogs that Patrick mentioned. I was looking up more information about Constellations. I even passed on some of Chaz's puns to Aaron, especially the one about what bird can do more than others. Well, the pelican, because that's one of our mottos here in our family. The pelican can. You know, we picture Rosie the Riveter, but with a big beak. So, really, it just sounded bad, and Skynet sounded good. That said, nothing that I've heard here on the net makes me want to reconsider that even the tiniest little bit. There are movies that I've started but not finished that I then finish later, like, you know, Airport or Frank and the Robot. There are some good movies that get discussed here that I have to come back and, or at least fun movies that I have to come back and backfill because I hear so many great things about them. This is not one of those movies. NT5TM.
All right, thank you, Tony. And in the process of picking these films, of course, Brenda has final say on all of them, and sometimes when I say no, she says yes, and we go ahead and do them anyway. But generally speaking, what happens is that we'll go through a long list of movies. I will check, personally, some of the streaming services and see if there's anything that may be famous or different or exciting that is available for free, maybe with ads, that we can watch. They can be new films. Other cases, they're very old films that just happen to be either in public domain or they're available because nobody bothered to redo the licensing on the copyright on the film. And those are usually ones that are clinkers, but not always. And I personally, myself, do not try and watch the film ahead of time. I just pick it out, I read the synopses, and then I write about the synopses with my own synopses. And that's good enough, really, I think, because I want to enjoy the film as much as you do. A first impression is always the best impression. And boy, was there a first impression on this one. So that's how the movies are selected. Let's see. I'm going to go to Kane, K5A&E. Kane, now it's time to talk about characterization. What did you think about Michael Dorn as the chairman? I'm thinking, you know, I like the chairman on Iron Chef, and he kind of gave me that impression, but maybe not as dramatic. But what did you think about the characterization? All the wonderful people that starred in this movie, particularly the family with the name that's unpronounceable, from KE5ICX.
So yeah, as previously mentioned, it's like, why this family? Like, what makes this family special in the slightest? And as kind of mentioned, like some of the reasoning that they give, which is really weak and kind of only barely talked about at the very beginning there for the first 10 seconds, is that Isaiah picked them, but Isaiah picked them because they were important, but they're important because Isaiah picked them. So, I don't know. Once again, I think they're just trying to showcase some of the circular logic issues that happen with cause and effect in time travel movies and whatnot. At least that's kind of my hope. I guess maybe they just stumbled into that as well instead of actually trying to do that. But yeah, right? So it's like the main characters. Like, why are they the main characters? We don't really truly know. But, yeah. And then as mentioned, for the race of aliens, I guess, are they aliens, right? Like, we don't really even know too much about these, you know, elite whatever they are. I forget if they ever actually name this society of people that live at the edge of the universe with, I don't know, super cool, fancy, new technology things that look like something from, you know, an 80s arcade. I don't know, like, some of, like, I even like their motivations of why they do the things they do and how their universe works, like none of that even really makes any sense. And so the motivations behind the characters and why they do the things they do just is all over the place. And then I don't even remember, like, I mean, I guess like the boy's girlfriend, I guess, that comes up, like how, like, where does she even really come from in the movie? I seem to kind of recall that she was first introduced maybe in the Old Western kind of times. No, not in the Old Western time, right? It was when he fell through the barn, and I guess that was the Old Western time then, right? And she was just suddenly there, and then suddenly now that person throughout all the time is now important to him somehow, and fate just kind of always has her there, but she doesn't really ever do anything. It's like there was almost no reason for her to even exist other as just like a wink, I guess. I don't know. I don't understand. I really don't understand that character in the slightest, and I feel like she could have just not existed in this movie at all, and it wouldn't have changed anything. I did think the having the sister and, you know, the sister experiencing the boy meeting his sister older and things like that, and that kind of thing is always kind of a fun thing in time travel movies and whatnot. But at least that part like made some amount of sense as far as character interactions, and seemed a little bit believable about, that whole, oh, you never came back for me kind of thing. And, that was probably like the biggest character building kind of time in the whole movie was that interaction. That's like the only bit of real drama in this whole mess that was glued together to make something that resembles a movie. And I don't know, that Isaiah character, just in general, even though like his motives, I mean, other than just, I guess he was just kind of motivated by the idea of seeing like the excess and lack of morals to his society and deciding to try and make a difference. I think he's probably about the only character that actually really makes any sense in a way. But even then, the way that they kind of finish his character off is just like so flat at the very end. It's just like, oh yeah, by the way, I've been drinking blue my whole life, and like now I'm just addicted to it, and so yeah, never mind, I'm just gonna disappear now, even though that wasn't a thing for any bit of the movie before. It's just like suddenly now, like, oh yeah, now I can't go back to Earth, even though I've been there this whole time previously, separate without the blue. Like, I don't know. It's like they finally had a decent character, and then they just threw it all away at the very end for some reason. That's about it for me. K5 A&E, back to net.
Well, thank you, Kane, and thank you for that detailed analysis of the characterization and your honest appraisal and assessment. That explains a lot. By the way, I forgot to do my part on the previous round, telling you what I thought about the film, because I looked at the notes and realized I never said anything. So I will come back to that in a little bit. Now, next on the list is Jay, KG5BZW. Now, Jay did not see the film, and he may have just gone to bed. It's entirely possible, but he may also still be out there. So I'm going to say, Jay, and I'm speaking loudly, listen, Jay, KG5BZW, is this a film that you want to see? Because we've given you just enough information now to decide it. Maybe you made a mistake by not seeing this week's movie. So what do you think? Would you be willing to see this movie, Jay? KG5BZW from KE5ICX.
This is KG5BZW. On that link. Yeah,
I saw the first. Actually, I didn't really even see the first few minutes. I listened to the first minutes or so. The narration explaining the universe, which that's a story prompt, and when literally the darn movie opens with a story prompt instead of an actual story. That's a big no in my part. Although I did kind of catch the visuals, in very low resolution as I kind of glanced back and forth as I was busy with some other stuff. This looked too bad for that bit. But then I realized, like, this movie was, I couldn't finish it. I started it tonight and just didn't really have that much time to really watch it. I don't know, I normally try to watch, like, Friday night if it has a good chance of being a stinker, but really have the time for whatever reason. So, and I haven't really heard anything that, I don't know, maybe it'd be a good, completely in the background, just something just slightly better than, pink noise or something, you know, just, we've got a completely unrelated topic. We've got other ways of curating that. I won't go into detail, but I'm not particularly interested in this film, and that's all I got. KC5 BCW, back to that.
All right, thank you, Jay. I think the answer is no, you would not want to see this film ever again, even if you've never seen it for the first time. Even hearing about it is probably damaging your hearing. So, we'll move on to Brenda, WB50ZL. Miss Brenda, your thoughts on characterization. I know you've got a lot to say about this one because we had a discussion about this. By the way, a lot of us, a few of us, at 8 o'clock on Friday nights actually watched the film together separately, meaning we turned the movie on at the same time, and then we used the Facebook chat to talk about the film while it's going on. And she did mention a few things about the characters. So, Brenda, WB50ZL, your thoughts on characterization for, what is this thing, Time Master from 1996.
This is WB50ZL. Well, I will say there were a lot of very attractive people in it. The boy was cute, and so was his sister and girlfriend and his parents. Everybody was attractive. Michael Dorn, what's not to love there? My goodness. And Pat Morita, these are faces we've loved to watch for so many years. So there is that you did get to watch some attractive people, and they did a lot of fun stuff, like have car chases and other kind of chases and things like that. Excuse me. Sorry, I had to sneeze. Were they cast well? Yeah, I guess so. There was nobody there that you said that just doesn't fit. But since the story was absolutely inscrutable, who knows what should have fit there or here. And the aliens I didn't get. Thought that was one of the poorest choices. I just didn't know what they were about or who they were or anything. So how could you say that they were characterized correctly? Because we just don't know anything about them. And I think that was one of the weaker points of this whole story. you did sympathize with the kid. He was a very sympathetic character. You cared about him and what happened to him. So I think that's a strong point in this movie, is that you do have empathy for the characters, at least the boy and his sister and girlfriend and parents. But a lot of this muddled story, it's like, what was their motivation? What were the people doing? You know, what were they here for? And you know, why were they doing this? A lot of it didn't make any sense to me. All right, back to net, WB50ZL.
Okay, Brenda, I guess that explains a lot. If you didn't know what was going on or knew anything about the character, so that's perfectly fine. And fully understandable considering the fact I couldn't figure it out either. Okay, before I give my comments both on the characterization and the movie plot itself, I'll go ahead and ask if there's anyone else that would like to join us this evening. We're talking about Time Master, not Beastmaster, but Time Master from 1996, about time travel. The other one's about beast travel. So if you'd like to join us, please come now with your call sign, your name, and did you see Time Master from 1996? Okay, well, I should have figured that was probably going to be the case. Even our regulars aren't even showing up because this was such a fine film. They didn't know how to articulate everything about the film and its magnificence. Okay, well, I skipped my part talking about the plot, so I'll go ahead and talk about that a little bit. There was none that I could understand, but and it was brought up, I think Kane brought up a cause and effect. In other words, did Mr. Miyagi, not the chairman, what was his name? Yeah, that guy. Isaac, I think. Yeah, Isaac, Pat Morita. Isaiah, that's it. Isaiah was picking them, but then tired of it, and he doesn't want to pick them anymore, but they're still picked because, I don't know, maybe there's that time thing going on, the cause and effect. I don't think so. I don't think the writer, director, and his family actually had any idea what was going on. I think what they did was they went to Chuck E. Cheese, all of them, the director, the two kids that are star in the film, and Michael Dorn went to Chuck E. Cheese. And I think what happened was Michael Dorn has a cheese allergy, and then he went unconscious during the whole discussion about the film. And what they thought was he was signing up for the movie was actually him asking for an EMT to come help him while he laid on the ground almost motionless and in pain from the cheese allergy. That's what I think happened. And I'm probably correct because I'm usually right about these things. Just like was mentioned earlier, I'm very good about roll patterns on spacecraft. And these things obviously equate to one another because, quite honestly, everything else in the movie was kind of treated the same way, so why shouldn't I treat myself the same way? Movies and roll pattern, same thing, just different objects. Now my questions, and this always comes up whenever I'm watching something where you have gamblers living on a planet and they're using human beings to bid against with quat loops and all of that stuff. You know, it's like the three brains on Star Trek, the gamesters of Caelum, where they spent the whole episode fighting each other because they were bidding against each other. These three Jello brains were doing that. Well, the same thing applies here, except there's more beautiful people doing it and not Jello brains. But the same question that came up when I first saw that episode, and the same one comes up with this fine film, and that is, what do these people do? What do they do all day? We don't know what they do all day. Does this happen on weekends? Is this a weeknight program or a weekend program? Where do they come up with the money or whatever? And this essence thing, the blue stuff that looks like Romulan ale, how does that come out of the body? Everything in the body should be like kind of a tan or brown color. How does it come out blue? What is that, the essence? Is that the soul? What is that? How do they get that? Why haven't we discovered that already? I mean, we've done everything else with the human body. I'm sure that somehow or another the folks who do the drugs could have already come up with something like this. Oh, yeah, wait a minute. It's the stuff you do to regrow hair. I forgot. Rogaine. It's Rogaine is what it is. It's got to be what it is. This is what everybody wants. Blue Rogaine. Now another thing. Anytime any movie, I don't care what it is, any movie that opens up with a voiceover from one of the stars is guaranteed to be terrible. You know why? Because quite honestly, they filmed the whole thing, looked at the film and went, oh no, nobody's going to be able to figure this thing out. We need to explain to them what's going on. Because if we don't, we're in trouble. Nobody will understand the movie. The people reviewing the movie will sit there and have some sort of brain aneurysm, or they'll leave and get popcorn and then never come back, or they'll leave and get popcorn and go to the bar across the street and never come back. The point of it is that they're going to get drunk, stinking drunk, and they're not coming back to your movie. So you have to explain at the very beginning what's going on. Well, that's never a good sign. Now, another couple of things. The guy who got shot, which I think is the father, I'm not sure because I was losing interest pretty heavily at that point. They saved his life by sticking him in a germ-infested horse trough. Why? Why do you do that? I'm assuming that's not, it was kind of a fancy one. I mean, if you were upscale horse trough, it kind of had that ankle thing, and it looked very nice, and you stick him in the water, and he floats. That's good, because if he sunk, he wouldn't have lasted very long. Then the next thing we see, he's totally dry and in bed, and he's recovering, and they say, well, he's recovering. No voiceover for that, but we're told he's recovering. From what, how, and why did that work? And I don't know. I was just confused by all of that, that somehow he survived. Maybe they used the blue fluid. I don't know. I lost interest at that point, so I'm not quite sure. I thought I would make that point. Now, somebody mentioned the fact that who impacted the movie. Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, you can watch Raiders of the Lost Ark with Indiana Jones and realize that Indiana Jones had absolutely no impact on the end results of the movie. Because had the Nazis opened up the sarcophagus, the do not open box, and found not the Holy Grail, what was that one? The Ark of the Covenant, that's right, the Ark. They all would have melted anyway, and somebody would have come by and found that, they were all melted, and then they would look inside and says, do not look inside, and this end up, that they would have melted too, and then everybody would have melted, and it would have stayed a secret because everybody would go to see it and get melted. The only thing that Indiana Jones did correctly was he said, don't look at it. And get off my airplane, I think he also said. But in any case, he had no impact on the film. None whatsoever. So the same thing applies here. Nobody had any impact on the film, including anything that made the film better. The acting, I mean, these people could act, I suppose. Pat Morita does that wax on, rub off thing, or whatever the hell it is. And Michael Dorn, he wears that turtle thing on his forehead. They've done other acting gigs, some of them before, some of them after. So they could have handled it, and they did fine. And Dorn has a good voiceover, and he makes a great chairman. Maybe not as good as that guy with the crazy hair on the show Iron Chef. Not quite as good or as flamboyant as the Iron Chef guy, but he's pretty much the same character. question would be, is this a comedy? Because I'm not quite sure. They show the two guys doing their little play-by-play, and I don't know, they kind of looked like, and it seemed like they were trying to tell jokes that really didn't play out. Maybe it was improvisation. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Maybe it was a blank contest. But they were trying to be funny. And then there was that weird scene during the big shootout, and the guy gets shot out of his boots, and there's smoke coming out of that. I think that was supposed to be funny. Maybe the kids would laugh, but I could see the kids getting really cranky about 10 minutes after that, saying they want to go home or buy me popcorn, or I'm going to scream bloody murder, I'm going to set the theater on fire because it was such a bad film. Any of those things could happen, but the thing is that it was at that point when I saw the boots that I realized this thing's going to suck. So it's kind of like sucking boots. This is really, really, really bad. Now, characterization. Well, the chairman, he was great. Anybody who can do the play-by-plays for food and gets to select what's the best food along with the people around him, that's my chairman. This guy wasn't the chairman, I guess, because he didn't do any of that stuff, so he could have. Michael Dorn's very good at that, and wielding a bat left, or whatever that thing is that he does in the thing when he's angry. You could do that, I suppose, and that's fine. The kids were annoying, like small kids always are. Like Buffy and Jody on Family Affair, which I just saw yesterday, and saw a really annoying episode because they were in it. Otherwise, it'd be just the Brian Keith Affair, which would be the name of the program instead of the Family Affair. And let's not forget Mr. French, who also made a major part of the show. That was important as well. Now, did that have anything to do with what we were watching? Only one thing. The children were annoying. Let's see, what else can I say about it? The bikers were fun. They just seemed to know what the hell they were supposed to do and fly through glass and all of that. Then there was the Yellowstone Park. I was trying to remember where I saw that drive-through 50s diner car stop thing in Yellowstone, and I don't remember ever seeing that in any movie anywhere, but I do remember seeing the chalet in Switzerland. That was pretty cool. I was looking for James Bond to show up, and it was pretty cool having all the guys floating around and doing their ninja stuff with machine guns. If only it did make me want to watch the Spy Who Loved Me? I forget. I think that's what it was. The Spy Who Loved Me in Switzerland. I would much rather have seen that film than what we saw, even though it had the same chalet. But I think that was all stock footage, and they just found some stuff and gave the Olympic skiers machine guns. Now, wouldn't that be cool? You could do that as a competition. I mean, a one-up on that whole thing with the rifle thing that they do that looks so dorky. Machine guns. That would be a lot cooler. Other characters, not so much. I don't think there was anything else. There's the one guy that was the old guy, the young guy, the old guy, and was drinking the blue stuff. I forget what he did. But one of the things you got to remember is these people are thousands of years old, thousands and thousands of years old. And in the process, they don't learn anything except to watch these stupid games and to pay money to see them. They even have the little old lady that's not supposed to be old because everybody can live forever, giving them tickets and taking wagers and all of that. I don't know, it just didn't seem to me she had much to do, but she actually made the most sense out of the whole bunch. I'll change your money into blue liquid, or whatever that was. Okay, well, I've made my comments so far, and I've managed to stretch it out another 10 minutes. Aren't I great? I'm going to go to let's see. Yes, I will go ahead and ask Tony if he's still awake. Tony, who would you substitute these characters with? Think about a movie, and who would you put in as time travelers for a film that was actually good? Who would they be from KE5ICX?
Tom, I am still awake, and you gave me a great prompt, and I don't know. They just sound so awful. I can't take characters from a movie that I actually like and transport them into this one. I really did like your thoughts about Indiana Jones because, yes, he tries so hard, but he's always a step behind. He's really just there to be a witness, and that's actually kind of cool. It makes me think of Goldfinger, the James Bond movie, where James Bond advances the plot always by making horrible mistakes and doing everything wrong. Makes me want to watch Raiders of the Lost Ark again. But what's a good time travel movie that I want to take the characters out of that movie and torture them in this one? Good prompt, good way to get my brain engaged, but I can't come up with anyone I want to do that to. So thank you. I've enjoyed hearing everyone's comments, but I am even more resolute that I will never watch this movie. If you try to show it to me by accident, I will turn around and do something else instead. NP5TM.
Well, Tony, if that's the case, then our work here is done. We have accomplished the mission for you, and that is to not waste your time. But don't worry, there's another movie waiting in the wings for next week. It also originates from archive.org, but I'll tell you about that in a little bit. All right, next is, let's see, the next part is the special effects. Boy, were they special in this film. So I'm going to go to Kane, K5ANE. Kane, what did you think of the special effects? And please don't forget to talk about the absolutely amazing music in this film. Please go ahead from KE5ICS.
So the special effects were kind of all over the place, just like the rest of this movie. We had some scenes of, almost entirely CGI of them floating through, I guess, hyperspace or something like that, with all the possible futures and things like that represented as those weird spheres that they could go into. And I guess like for the budget and the time that the movie was made, like that looks okay. It doesn't really make any sense, but I'm flying through hyperspace and things like that. There's no like like, oh yeah, that looks so fake. It's like, well, no, of course it's fake. Like that, like none of that is real. None of it really makes any sense anyway. So I guess they get a little bit of a pass on that, given the technology that they had and probably the budgets they had to play with. So, I'll let them have that. They did a lot with some neat, kind of practical effects and things like that. Their sets were pretty decent. I do kind of feel like some of these sets might have just been like kind of reused things that they, found a set from some stage someplace and just quickly set up and shot some scenes and then went back and found another set someplace, and that kind of explains why it hops around a little bit. I do think some of the worst special effects were actually the most futuristic time area, place, whatever. Those weird like screens, or the fact that they used to have like the screens of what was going on in the virtual, well, not virtual world, but you know what I mean. Those things just looked so gimmicky and so terrible. I can't imagine those people of that far-flung future society of ancients that live forever and yet are only 25 years old could really, like have that be the end-all be-all of their, way of experiencing what's going on in that weird, VR but not VR because it's real kind of world. And then, of course, like those weird chair things that they're using to control that VR space, and like the analog buttons and things and gears and dials, and I mean, come on now, they're like these ageless, timeless beings from the far, far future of 2035 or whatever it was, and you would think that they would have a more advanced kind of like input kind of thing to their VR games than some weird, slightly gimmicky tilt chair with flashing buttons on it. You know, I mean, come on now, like they're whatever super advanced time traveling things that like have crazy advanced technology for everything, and yet they're still using weird gimmicky buttons on like this big giant play set and some weird VR helmet kind of thing. Like, I mean, there are, you know, if you took a time travel thing and went back to a 90s arcade, there was more advanced technology there than what these far-flung, you know, beings in the future had available for their entertainment. And then, of course, like, finally, the whole setup that they did for that, you know, the nuclear code launch scene and all those effects, there's just like, I mean, that thing was the cheesiest, oh man, just the weird, it was like a hand mixer thing that suddenly became like a helicopter, and like, I mean, what? Like, I kind of get like the whole like, oh yeah, they you know, influence, you know, a tiny little thing and that completely radically changes, you know, history or whatever. You know, like, okay, that kind of makes sense, but then it's like, oh yeah, and that little nudge that they do is a hand mixer goes absolutely crazy and flies around and starts typing in launch codes into a suitcase, which, I mean, why is the launch code on the screen for you to just type in the code? Doesn't, I mean, that's, like, that whole scene is just so terrible and mind-numbing that just does not make any sense in the slightest. And, yeah, K5 A&E, back to net.
All right, thank you, Kane. And yeah, I was thinking the same thing, but I was also thinking, if you're going to watch this movie, and who would pick this film? Well, let's venture back in time. Let's think about, you know, you find this movie in the bottom of the discard barrel, let's say at Walmart, and it's like $2, $1.99 for the VHS tape of this film. And then you say, well, I've got to go and buy a 44-pack of beer to watch this thing, and maybe I have to refresh my bong, and all of these things. And so I sit down and I order, you know, 17 boxes of pizza, and my friend's over, and then we start smoking weed, and then we watch this film, and we're really enjoying the film and realizing that it makes so much sense to us, because in any movie that you would watch would make about as much sense. But since the movie doesn't make sense, watching it just seems normal until the very end at the White House, where all the mixers and things become, you know, what is it, sentient, and then begin turning into weapons of danger and disaster and all of that, ready to destroy the world. And then you see that and you go, hey, man, that can't happen. That number's too long. The president could never put all those numbers in. The bombs would have already hit by the time they got all those numbers in. And, yeah, why would you put the numbers on it in the first place? I thought that was rather interesting. But I was thinking about, for some people watching this film, it would be very normal. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I will now go down to Jay. KG5BZW. Jay did not see the film. However, he has heard all of the comments. Jay, your final comments about this film, and maybe who would you put in this film? And did the Indiana Jones film, Raiders of the Lost Ark, really need Indiana Jones in it? Couldn't it called it Raiders of the Lost Ark? And what is a Raider of the Lost Ark? I guess it's the Nazi. But go ahead, Jay. Your final comment from KE5ICX.
KG5BZW. You've given me a lot to chew on just right now, and I don't know. I don't have the metaphorical equivalent of 3 stomachs to process all that right now. Okay. how think of some movies where it is the other movies, I should say, where the hero really is hero by well, not really being. Well, let's just say he's competent, but or she, whoever, is competent, but yes, a few. Well, no, okay, so yeah, okay, I'm sorry, I'm a big ramble right now. I would argue that in Indiana Jones, the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones is somewhat competent, although it's been a little while since I've watched the film, and yeah, in the it's not gold, not gold finger, golden, what is it? I don't know. This film Tony mentioned, I do think, and a few other James Bond films, yeah, I feel like my comments are making as much sense as the film right now, so I don't know, maybe I need to stop on that. As far as characters I would like to in this film, I don't know, what, did that scene you described actually happen in that film? Oh my goodness, what? I'm so confused. I feel like if it really was like that, I'd throw in the most random character, is there a comedy I could, big character from a comedy or some I could throw in, because that's about the only thing I could think of that could make it remotely watchable. Although I have to admit, if I hate to rag on Bill and Ted's the two Bill and Ted films. I mean, I know there's a third. I haven't seen that one. Tons of stuff that they do in terms of something didn't really make that much sense, but the whole film still together in a way that I don't think this film ever could. So, no, I kind of want to put them in this because I think they would improve it dramatically. Maybe. No, I'll leave it at that. KG5BGW.
Hey, thank you, Jay. Thank you for your comments. Yes. Next was and is Brenda, WB50ZL. Brenda, this is the final round. You can say anything you want about this film, or you can discuss the special effects or discuss the special effects, the music, anything your little heart desires from KB5ICS.
This is WB50ZL. No, I can't say what I want about this film because this is ham radio and that would be illegal. I don't know. They just took mediocrity to a whole new level, and I don't know what to say. They just, I almost think it's like they just didn't care. It's like, well, why should I work and do a good job if they didn't do a good job? Maybe they were competing for the last place. I don't know. The special effects, they had a few. I was not impressed. I just think the whole thing lacked any originality, and I just don't know. I'd love to hear a backstory on it, the people involved, and see what they said. There's always a lot of blame gaming and finger pointing. And it's like, well, the studio wouldn't support us, and they wouldn't spend any money to advertise, blah blah blah. But other than the actors, I don't see anything to commend this. Wasn't any story to speak of, and special effects were so-so. The plot was just awful, and you have so many things like that not going for it. It just turns up to be a hot mess, and that's what it was. I sure would not recommend this to anybody, and I'm sure not going to watch it again. All right, back to net, W50ZL.
Why, thank you, Brenda, and thank you for that uplifting discussion about our film for this evening. Okay, well, I will take another call on anybody who would like to check in. You can call out from behind the shadows and say you're out there. Maybe you're making a beer run right now, and you need to let us know that you've enjoyed the comments this evening. Or maybe you're, in the back of a police car somewhere, and you're listening over your handy talkie or something. Please come now, and I will recognize you as having participated in the net, even in a minimalistic way. Please come now.
November 5, India, Mike Sierra, and I have some suggestions on possible replacement characters.
Excellent. The voice of reason. N5IMS. JJ, your idea for replacement characters for Time Master. And this might even include the director and his kids. But go ahead.
I think the major characters, and of course I hadn't seen the movie, so I don't know who it is, and I haven't been able to follow the plot because I don't think there was one. But we'll just start with the major characters, and we can move down from there. I think Mel Brooks would be a great addition. Add Carl Reiner, not his son, the dad, from way back, and have him go in there. Maybe Dick Van Dyke, he's had some good scenes with Carl Reiner, so that might go. And some nice other good comedic actors and actresses. For example, let's see. I'm trying to think of some good ones that might go in there. Richard Pryor comes to mind, and Eddie Murphy perhaps, and people like that. Of course, admittedly, you'd have to change this more into a comedy, but I think if you get enough of them in there, they could do it, and most of them have writing and directing and producing chops, so maybe they can actually have the movie even make some sense and stuff when they get through shredding the entire script and starting over from scratch. That's kind of my suggestion. This is N5IMS. Enjoy the net.
All right, thank you, JJ, and thank you for your comments. That's so 60s of you, and I'm perfectly okay with that. Anybody who's seen the Dick Van Dyke Show would agree with you on that, or even watched, I don't know, Get Smart, or any of the other things that our buddies from the 60s and even 70s television would do. So I'm in full agreement with you. All right, I will beat this dead horse one more time. My my comments on, let's see, the special effects, not so hot, of course, but this is the 1990s. But then you think about things like, oh, I don't know. You see films like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Let's see, 91, Jurassic Park, I think, would have been out by then. Of course, these have huge budgets, and thousands and hundreds of millions of people working with special effects on their little Apple computers, or whatever it is, Atari. Probably Atari back then. You know, you can only do a little bit, and then put it on your cassette tape and mail it into the studio. But once you put all those tapes together into a big movie, you've got a movie. So it's probably one of the reasons. I found that the dinosaur, the puppet dinosaur, was pretty bad, and why they kept it doing that for so long when the special effect was not special at all. To me, you know, what you do is you darken everything up so you can't see anything, and then that way it doesn't look as bad. You know, like they do with Alien. You don't feature the weakest special effect for 10 minutes on the screen just as filler. Find something else to be a filler. I don't know. It, you know, well, they did that. They had the love affair that is creepy, and the sister that grew up and became a biker chick and all that. That was filler. Michael Dorn talking was filler. The guy with the blue thing not living, sort of filler. Okay, never mind. It doesn't matter. In a movie filled with filler to the gills, it's still, it just, yeah, okay, never mind. It all works out. The music, electronic music, sure, why not? So 80s of them, but why not throw it in the 1990s and throw in a few, you know, 2001 Space Odyssey, also Big Bear, or whatever that name is, and make it sound good. There was some other thing they did, and I don't remember what it was, which was actually had a nice tune. It was a pop tune, I think, but I don't remember what it was, because, God, who would do that? Who would allow their property to be shared in this movie is beyond me. Well, surprisingly, it is 11:50. We're only 10 minutes away from when we normally close, and somehow or another, with this movie with only a few people and no plot to discuss, and terrible acting, and non-existent special effects, we still managed to go longer than the film itself, which is quite an accomplishment. Not sure what kind of accomplishment, but we managed to achieve it. And so what I will do is, everybody write this down, or you can go to the Facebook page and go to Afterglow Movie. That's 2 words, Afterglow and Movie. Look under the guidance section. You'll have to find it there. You'll find out that next week's movie for next Saturday is The Wizard of Speed and Time from 1985. And it says the following: a Hollywood filmmaker makes a short for an evil film studio. Unbeknownst to him, the producer has placed a bet of $25,000 that he cannot come up with anything that they can use. Luckily, our film creator gets the help of his friends. Now, believe it or not, this got good reviews. In fact, 5 out of 5 by people who, watch bad movies like the one we saw tonight. But there's nobody has given it anything less than 5 stars. So this unknown film has a following. So you may want to check it out. It is an indie, and it's called a comedy, and it does say science fiction. So I guess all those things apply. Unlike this film, it had none of that. So we will see you all again next week, same bat time, same bat station, for The Wizard of Speed and Time. And with that, I'm going to close it out, and maybe I'll watch a little bit of Lost in Space, or I will go to bed. I'm not sure which. I don't know which episode it is tonight, although I could probably find out. But it's a second season episode, whatever it is. We'll catch y'all later. This is KE5ICX from Clear. Good night and goodbye.